Hello, I'm Rob Satloff, the Siegel Executive Director of the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. I'm delighted to welcome you to this very special event as we near the end of 2025. It is our great honor to have with us today the Foreign Minister of the Republic of Lebanon, His Excellency Youssef Raggi. Lebanon, of course, has been in the news throughout this past year. It was just over a year ago when the United States helped achieve a ceasefire in the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel. And throughout 2025, we have seen efforts at disarmament of Hezbollah, fulfilling commitments in the ceasefire. We have seen also very important changes in the composition of something called the mechanism. We'll get into all of this. We've seen very important developments on the consideration of the idea of peace between Israel and Lebanon, an issue that normally doesn't make it into the political headlines, but is now something being talked about for the first time in many years. Of course, there is still conflict, and we periodically see Israel targeting Hezbollah assets throughout the country, and there are victims that we've seen in just the last couple of days. Lots of issues on Lebanon's foreign policy, lots of issues on the U.S. Lebanese agenda, and how it relates to broader Middle East questions. And for that, we are really delighted that His Excellency Youssef Raggi is with us today. Minister Raggi has been a member of Lebanon's diplomatic corps going back to 1992. He has served as chief of mission on behalf of Lebanon in Jordan, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Morocco, in South Korea, and he is now approaching, along with the rest of the new Lebanese government, almost a year in office, a government that was formed in February of 2025. I am joined here today by what I like to call the Washington Institute's Lebanon Brain Trust. On my right, former Assistant Secretary of State, David Schenker. I'm delighted to have Dave, who's the director of our Arab Politics program. On my left, Haneen Khadar. Haneen is the Friedman Senior Fellow at the Institute, formerly the managing editor of Now Lebanon, author of an outstanding work on Shiite community in Lebanon called Hezbollah Land. So together with my colleagues, we're going to have the opportunity to ask a whole range of questions and have a conversation with Minister Raggi. If you would like to get into our conversation, please feel free to send me directly an email. You can do this at rsatloff@washingtoninstitute.org, and I will monitor the emails as they come in. Alternatively, if you are on Zoom, watching it on that platform, you can use the Q&A function of the Zoom bar. With that, Minister Raggi, welcome. Welcome to the Washington Institute.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Satloff. You hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really happy to be with you tonight. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are. I'm really happy to be with you. Thank you again.
Terrific. Well, let's just jump right into it. Your government is nearing its first anniversary. In your area of responsibilities, when you look back on the past year, how do you evaluate your progress and achievements, and what do you look at for your top goals in 2026?
Globally, it was a good year. We had major crisis in Lebanon, political crisis, a financial crisis, economic crisis. We had war. The last 8 or 10 years were really horrible on Lebanon. So when we took office, when this government was formed, it was after more than 2 years of vacuum at the presidency of the republic, at the government. So we had a lot to do. We had almost a country to rebuild. We had an administration, public administration to restore. We had a very difficult task, but I think we have a good government. I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about the Prime Minister and my colleagues, the Minister. They are all very competent, very honest. I can say it very directly. Maybe this first time in Lebanon since maybe for a long time that we have this kind of government, a coherent government, a very honest guys, very competent. So it was globally a good year, a positive year with lots of difficulties. But I think with the few means we had, we did the maximum we could do.
So let me ask you about the issue that attracts so much attention on Lebanon at the moment, which is the objective of disarmament that was outlined in the ceasefire approved a year ago last November, and which the Lebanese armed forces have begun in terms of exerting sovereignty and disarming non-state actors, especially in the South Litani sector. Can you give us your assessment of the progress so far?
Yes, this is currently the main issue for Lebanon and for the Lebanese people, the Hezbollah arms. It took the government almost 6 months to make the decision, the firm decision, on August the 5th to disarm Hezbollah. Although it's written in the Lebanese constitution, it's part of the Taif agreement, it's part of the UN Security Council resolution 1701, 1559. Everybody know about that. But this government didn't make the decision, the firm decision, the public decision taken in the within a meeting of the Council of Ministers. So it had been done on August the 5th, as I said, which in my view, it's a little bit, not too late, but late. Anyway, it's done. To be clear once for all, we are not asking for the disarmament of Hezbollah for Israel or for the U.S. or for the international community. The Lebanese people want this illegal military organization to be disarmed, and not only disarmed, but also dismantled. We have nothing against their ideology. Everybody is free to have its own ideology, even though we don't agree, but we don't support, but we respect. But it's not acceptable to have an illegal military armed organization. So we want this Hezbollah to be disarmed and dismantled. They have what they call political branch. Okay, no problem. But they have a security branch. And when we say security, you know what I mean. And a military. Security, it's a euphemism about everybody think that they do domestically. I will not develop further, but we want security and military branch to be dismantled, not only disarmed. And it's the Lebanese people are asking for that. Not talking about the ministerial declaration, the speech, the inauguration speech of the President of the Republic. Now, the left, the Lebanese army, is in charge of this operation. we asked the LAF to establish a plan. The commander of the LAF, the commandment, submitted the plan to the Council of Ministers. This plan is about 4 phases. The first phase is about the south, the part of Lebanon that is south of Litani River. It was supposed to finish by the end of this year, so in about 10 days, about a week. So we'll be waiting for the report. We hope that it will be done by then. We understand that the LAF has they have a very difficult task. They don't have enough personnel or enough material. They need support. They are doing a good job, but at the same time, some of us consider, some in Lebanon consider that they are not going fast enough, not because of the LAF, but because of the lack of the political will. We consider that the political support, the political will, the political decision is not enough the way it is right now.
So, Mr. Minister, you've given a very strong statement in support of the concept of disarmament, and I know that the United States, of course, is very firmly in support of this idea. When one thinks about future phases, one has heard different words being used: disarmament south of the Litani, and a new term, confinement or containment of weaponry north of the Litani. I looked at the ceasefire. In vain did I find any reference to the word containment. What does this mean? What do you expect to happen when the LAF moves north of the Litani?
Let me explain. The LAF made it very clear. They split Lebanon into four territories. South of Litani, between Litani and Awali River, Beirut and the suburbs, and the rest of the country. Okay, so they said they cannot do all the territory at the same time. They need time. They proposed, they said, we'll start with south of Litani River. Okay. South of Litani, they are doing the disarmament. But at the same time, in the meantime, they are containing arms everywhere else on the Lebanese territory. But when they will move to second phase, they will disarm in the area concerned by the second phase, etc. Containment doesn't replace disarmament. Containment at the same time than disarmament, but in the other area, in other areas.
So it begins with containment and eventually completes.
South of Litani and containing north of Litani, everywhere else. When they move to second phase, they will disarm the area of the second phase and containing the other area. Now, the problem is not that. The problem is Hezbollah is pretending that the UN Security Council's resolutions and the declaration of the cessation of hostilities of November 27, if I'm not wrong, 2024 they don't talk about north of Litani, which is not wrong. They are even either lying or they don't know how to read. I mean, the texts are very, very clear. But what is very dangerous, and we have great concern about it, is that all the leaders of Hezbollah and even the Secretary General, Sheikh Qasim, they are saying, no, we'll never disarm north of Litani. Mm. We will cut the hand of whoever even thinks about disarming Hezbollah. The Iranian leaders are saying the same. This is the main problem. They don't accept even the idea of disarmament.
And just to close this section, are you confident that your government is committed to fulfilling this process of disarmament through the Awali and all the way through the country?
I hope so.
Fair enough. All right. Let me turn to my colleague Haneen, and then we'll turn to my colleague David.
More words about if I may.
Please.
The situation now is that Hezbollah has they have accepted the idea that the southern Lebanon is now out of the game. They are trying to gain time, hoping for a miracle or any change in the U.S. administration or in the region to recover one day. Their aim now, their goal is to survive in order one day to be able again to control the whole country, the government, as they used to do before. So for them, Israel and the struggle against Israel now is only a pretext just to keep their arms for future domination of the country.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much for joining us, Minister Raggi, and I'm very glad to be able to ask you the following questions. I want to focus on a different topic, which is very much connected to disarmament and sovereignty. But I've realized recently that there've been a lot of shift in the Lebanese narrative, whether it is the public, the media, even the political level, kind of like normalization of peace. Basically, people are starting to talk about peace, possibility of peace, Abraham Accords between Lebanon and Israel, especially when there was an addition to a civilian addition to the mechanism. And of course, while disarmament is happening, it could sound like too early to talk about peace while we have the problem of Hezbollah's arms, but it could also be considered, preparing for the day after disarmament, because disarmament will happen one way or another. So while we're doing that, we might think about the day after. Do you think the mechanism is seriously discussing some kind of security agreement or economic cooperation that would lead to some kind of agreement between Lebanon and Israel? How do you see the path forward on this regard? Is it possible? And, the shift is happening, at least in the narrative. Do you see a political shift after we deal with the disarmament? Can you give us your analysis on that?
I don't want to be negative at this, but as everybody knows, I used to be very direct and very honest. Mm-hmm. And anyway, there is a huge campaign against me, so I'm free to say what I think.
Yes.
It's too early to talk about anything else, anything further. No normalization. Anyway, you cannot have normalization without having peace. Normalization comes after peace. And there is no way currently, for the moment, to talk about peace with Israel and Lebanon. It's still a taboo, a great taboo. No way to talk about peace with Israel. No way to talk about direct negotiations. So it's really early. And And honestly, I'm very surprised that the Israeli leadership, they are talking about economic negotiations. It's really too early. Regarding the mechanism, I'll be very honest. Appointing a civilian is just cosmetics. It hasn't changed anything. And it was clear, publicly, solemnly clear, that nothing has changed in the mission of the Lebanese, at least of the Lebanese delegation to the mechanism. It's purely technical / military. Nothing else. And let me be honest till the end. The appointment of a civilian in this mechanism was aimed to convince Washington that we are very positive, which is true. In my view, it's a good step. It's a very good step. It has to be done. It had to be done. But we were hoping that this appointment will convince Washington that we are very serious. And by transitivity, Washington would convince Israel that, you see, the Lebanese government, they are good guys, they are positive, they are making good steps. So please don't hit them.
Yes, thank you. I want to do a follow-up question on this. You say it's too early to talk about direct negotiations, but it's happening via the mechanism, but it's happening. And you say it's too early to talk about peace in Lebanon, but people are talking about it. So the narrative in Lebanon is very different than the narrative everywhere else in terms of like the public actually looking into this as an opportunity or a possibility. But there are certain things that can be done before we reach like actual direct peace negotiations, which are mostly some economic cooperation, but most importantly, the anti-normalization law that is being used as a weapon against a lot of people like dissidents, opposition to Hezbollah, anyone who dares to actually talk about it. Do you think there's at least a way now that the Lebanese government or leadership can do? Is there something that you or your colleagues can push for in terms of really dealing and abolishing this anti-normalization law that is only harming the Lebanese people abroad and inside Lebanon? It's before we actually reach the direct negotiations phase. Do you see this as happening?
As you said, it's very well known that number of Lebanese are talking openly now, are saying that state of war with Israel is becoming obsolete, and why not once for all talk about peace?
Yes.
But the mainstream is not in this. It's still taboo. And at the level of the government, the head of state, I mean the parliament, the government, it's still taboo. It's either ideological or demagogical. So nobody dares to talking about peace.
And what about the anti-normalization law?
No chance for the time being to lift or to amend the law you're talking about. Lebanon officially, by law, is in state of war with Israel, and currently you can do nothing about it. It's very
okay. Amended. Okay. All right. So I think what my last question is about the recent diplomatic clash you had about with the Iranian regime, with the Iranian officials and Hezbollah. Can you tell us just briefly how this came around?
We didn't have any clash.
Yes.
Raggi and I are good friends.
Yes.
We met, no, really, we met more than once, and we had very constructive and very honest and direct discussions, and we agreed to continue. What happened that I conveyed him, I asked him to meet me in a neutral country to talk.
Okay.
And he said, no, come to Tehran. He was very nice inviting me. I said, no, now the conditions are not good for me to go to Tehran. Let's meet somewhere else. And anyway, you are always welcome in Lebanon because, you know, the istiqbal and ضيافة Lebanese.
Hospitality.
Yeah.
That's it. But the others, they considered that talking about negotiations in a neutral country, Iran as an enemy, which is not legally, it's not an enemy, but we have a major problem with Iran. So they are making a huge campaign against me and their allies in Lebanon, Hezbollah, and they cannot admit, they cannot accept that time change. There is a new era in Lebanon, a new president of the republic, a new government, a new trend, a new mindset within the population, a new minister of foreign affairs. All times are gone. We want best relationships with everybody, with all countries around the world. We want peace with everybody, on the condition that they do respect our sovereignty. They don't interfere in our domestic affairs. Iran is interfering directly in our domestic affairs, in arming, financing an illegal armed organization, and they are managing directly. Iranians are in Lebanon taking care of the reorganization of Hezbollah, and the last the commander-in-chief of the chief of staff who was killed by Israel 2 weeks ago. I don't remember his name, but that helped me. He was Iranian, totally Iranian. I mean, he was in Lebanon. Yeah. So they are directly and openly interfering. They are denying that, but nobody believes them.
Thank you. All right, let me turn to my colleague, Dave Shanker. But when I do, let me just remind our viewers that if you would like to get into this conversation, please feel free to send a question to the Q&A function of your Zoom bar or email me directly at rsatloff, RSATLOFF, at washingtoninstitute.org. Dave.
Thanks. Mr. Minister, I want to talk about some other regional countries that aren't interfering in your domestic affairs, but that could play a potential role in helping Lebanon. Countries from the Gulf. Let's start with Saudi Arabia, a country that has traditionally played a role of sorts in Lebanon, has interests in Lebanon, has a lot of friends in Lebanon, and potentially can play a big role in the reconstruction of Lebanon. How are things with Riyadh? What have they said about their conditions for helping, if anything, moving forward?
Saudi Arabia, they were always beside Lebanon. They have always helping Lebanon. They have never had a negative role in Lebanon. Unfortunately, for the 10, 15 years, the government in Lebanon, government au sens large, they were aligned on the Iranian Ba'athist Hezbollah axis, and they were exporting terrorism, Captagon, destabilizations to Gulf countries, especially to Saudi Arabia. So it was normal that in Riyadh they get mad and they cut all relations with Lebanon. Now we are trying to restore these good relations, and they are very positive. They are open. They understand that something has changed, and they are open. But they put two conditions for financing the economic recovery and the reconstruction. Between brackets, to reconstruct today what has been destroyed a year ago, in my view, it's too early, because everybody knows that the war is not over yet. Hezbollah still wants to destroy Israel, and Israel is saying every day that it's not finished with Hezbollah. So it's ridiculous to have a construction process now when war can be resumed at any time. Anyway, to Saudi Arabia, they put two conditions: economic reforms and disarmament of Hezbollah. We are working on both. It takes some time. We are taking our time. They are waiting. They are positive, but they are waiting for more.
Thank you, understandably. Well, let's move on to Qatar. They were helping with providing some salary support to Lebanese armed forces troops. Are they continuing to do that, or is that finished? And what role are they playing other than that in Lebanon?
Are correct. They gave great support. It was very valuable. Now, to be honest, I don't know exactly what kind of help they are providing. I don't know if they are giving money to increase the salaries of the military, of the soldiers, but I know that they are supporting the DAF. Yes.
So two more questions for you, if I might. First, Turkey is really a robust regional player increasingly. They're a key backer of the government in Syria. They also have ties to certain communities in northern Lebanon. You recently had, I think, another incident, not unlike along the lines with the Iranian foreign minister, with the Turkish foreign minister. Is that maybe you could talk about that and what role Turkey is playing? Turkey also is hostile to Israel, and you don't want your country to look like Syria, with Turkey fighting it out with Israel there either. What role is Turkey playing, and how are the relations?
It's obvious that Turkey wants to enlarge its influence in the region. And it's obvious that they have great influence over Syria. They are trying to come to Lebanon. I mean, through civil associations, caritative associations, especially in the north of Lebanon, the city of Tripoli and the suburbs. Now the problem with Turkey was about the maritime borders with Cyprus. We have signed an agreement, the maritime borders with Cyprus, in dealing directly with Nicosia. And they are mad because we didn't take into consideration the Northern Turkish Republic of Cyprus. That was the problem. But we, since this northern the Republic of Cyprus is not recognized internationally, we couldn't negotiate with them. Nobody is recognizing this country. So Nicosia is recognized by the international community. We negotiated with them, and we agreed, and we signed this treaty. That's why Turkey is not very happy.
Thank you. One final question about your emerging new relations with Syria and the al-Shara regime, the government. You talk a little bit about what that looks like. Concerns. I know initially there were concerns among some communities in Lebanon, whether you have good cooperation on the border, whether you have ongoing dialogues, you're rewriting and recharting a relationship as two equal countries. What does that look like? And what are the sticking points with Syria going forward? And when do you anticipate that that Syria will file at the UN for sovereignty over the Golan, the Shaba farms? Sorry.
First of all, you can imagine what we think about the fallen Assad regime. Second, we're not in a position, and it's not our job to judge any kind of in any country. So we're not going into that. What I'm interested in is the relationship between Syria and Lebanon. We have to recognize that the first time in our recent history, since these two countries were established in 1920, and especially after the independence of the two states in 1943, this is the first time that an authority in Damascus, the power of government in Damascus, recognizes Lebanon as an independent country. I'm not talking only about the Assad regime. It was from the very beginning. Even before the Assad regime, they never recognized the independence of Lebanon. They never accepted to have diplomatic relations or to open embassies in Beirut. So this administration in Damascus has publicly recognized independence of Lebanon. The sovereignty, they claimed, they solemnly declared that they will always respect the sovereignty of Lebanon, and they will never interfere in our internal affairs, which is huge for us. First time Syrian authority in Damascus saying that clearly, publicly. So for us, it's a very positive point. Now, we have several files on hold. The refugees, the Syrian displaced, the disappeared people under the Assad regime, the delimitation of the borders, the Syrian prisoners in Lebanon. We have committees negotiating about that. I think I'm pretty optimistic about all that files. It will take some time. We know that in Syria they have many problems with what they call the minorities. They have problems with the Alawites, the Kurds, the Druze. They have even, according to intelligence, there are ISIS cells in Damascus. So we understand that they have many problems to solve. So maybe borders with Lebanon that are important for us and for them, but it's not the top priority for them. We can understand that. But again, I'm pretty optimistic that in a reasonable time, we will achieve all these fights. Now, regarding the Golan Heights and the
Shaba.
This is a very complicated problem. There are several theories. We can achieve the delimitation of the borders and then Syria can declare that Shebaa is Syrian, or declaring no, Syria Shebaa is not Syrian, so Shebaa is Lebanese. We can do it right now. Shebaa is a very complicated file. Nobody has decided to find the solution.
Good luck with that.
We have inherited this this very difficult issue from the previous regime in Damascus and the previous regime in Lebanon, who was a puppet in the hands of the Assad regime. But I'm sure we will find a fair solution for both countries. Now, Syria has a major problem with Israel about the Golan Heights, but this is another story.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Minister, I have a bunch of questions that have come in, and there's a couple more that I want to make sure we get at. Let me ask you first about U.S. Lebanese relations between Beirut and Washington. How do you evaluate this relationship? How do you evaluate the American role in the mechanism, in promoting Lebanese sovereignty, in economic and financial issues? Where does U.S. Lebanese relations stand today?
It depends. You can say America, the great Satan, supporting Israel to kill innocent people in Lebanon. And you can say that the United States of America are a free country, democratic country, and this country is helping Lebanon, supporting the.
What do you say?
But what do you say, Mr. Minister?
Let you guess. We have excellent relations with Washington. We consider the United States as a great friend of Lebanon. They have always been supporting Lebanon, the Lebanese government. They are supporting, giving great and very valuable support to the Lebanese army. Washington is the only country that has leverage over Israel, trying to convince Israel not to destroy the civilian infrastructure in Lebanon. No, we have great relationships. Now, from what I have heard, that there is a certain disappointment in Washington about what we are doing now. Some in Washington, D.C. consider that we are not going fast enough. We are not doing enough. They might be right. I will not comment.
Okay. Just to conclude on America, so far during the Trump administration, neither the president of the Republic nor you, I think, have yet to visit Washington in your current capacities. Can we expect visits sometime early in 2026?
Regarding the president of the Republic, I cannot talk his name, but myself, it would be a great honor for me. We will work on that. It's my best wish. It would be a great honor. You know, I was posted in our embassy in Washington between 1995 and 1999, and we have met, I think, once or twice. You most probably don't, but for me, it's a great capital. The United States is a great country, and very influential around the world, and very influential in the Middle East. So it would be my pleasure, my honor, and my duty to visit Washington as soon as I can.
So thank you. We would love to have you in person here at the Washington Institute. A number of questions have come in, so let me ask you, if I can, before we close, just a couple of other questions. Someone noted that, and I quote, you said earlier, quote, "We want peace with everybody," end quote. Does that include Israel? We recently saw the Israeli ambassador in Washington make a 17-minute video message to the Lebanese people about peace. Do you have your own message to the people of Israel about peace?
Mr. Sattler, the official position of the Lebanese government is we want peace with everybody, regarding Israel. We stick on the Arab Peace Initiative that has been taken in Lebanon at the Arab Summit in Lebanon in 2002. The two-state solution. This is the condition that the official Lebanon has put to think and talk about peace with Israel.
Okay. Another question that I received was, there has been reports of reluctance of the Lebanese armed forces to confront Hezbollah militarily. Do you believe that that reluctance will characterize the approach to disarmament? Do you believe that the Lebanese armed forces are capable of confronting and, if necessary, defeating Hezbollah if there is a confrontation?
Personally, my answer would be yes. But the problem is, some in Lebanon and within the government, they consider that it would lead to what they call a civil war. I want to make it very clear. Who are talking about civil war are Hezbollah and its allies. They are threatening with a so-called civil war. If they are talking about civil war, that they are themselves willing to do it. And they are trying to blackmail the government talking about civil war. And this is not acceptable. Having said that, when we say civil war, let's define a civil war. Civil war is between two parties, two communities, two regions. But when government, a legally, democratically elected government, wants to disarm an illegal armed organization, it's not a civil war. It's restoring the principles of the Constitution, the Life Accord of UN Security Council's resolutions. It's not a civil war. It's restoring law and order. So stop blackmailing us with what they call a civil war.
Very good. So on that very strong note, I want to thank you very much, Minister Raggi, for joining us here at the Washington Institute. I am grateful for your candor, for your principle, and for your commitment to see the job done all the way. On behalf of all of us, thank you for being with us today. And I want to wish you and all the people of Lebanon a very happy and peaceful 2026. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us today at this special session of the Washington Institute Policy Forum. Bye-bye.
Thank you.